Can you tell me a little bit of what might have changed from Unearthed Arcana to, from being the Oath of Heroism to now the Oath of Glory in that regard? And it's interesting that this paladin also is not a paladin that's very focused on godliness so much as their own personal glory and value.
Yeah, there's this notion, like, there's a thing that Jeremy Crawford talks about a lot with subclasses, and it kind of it really resonated with me as I was starting off on just how to design subclasses, and it was this idea that you always start with the story. So rather than trying to find design gaps, so starting with like we need to have this type of mechanical X, paladin. It was what is the story here, and there's in Greek mythology, there's the hero like like Achilles or Heracles, who are these kind of larger than life figures. Obviously, I mean, even in Greek mythology, them being divine in some way. But we thought that the D&D translation of that was using divine power to achieve this kind of self-aggrandizing role is somebody who is very aware of their destiny, that they are meant for great things, whether they've been picked out by the gods or just, have been woven into the fates or, woven into the fates for whatever reason. They are aware that they are not just going to be a mundane individual. And so this oath of glory is about them stepping into and embracing this concept of being a hero. They're not the reluctant hero. They're the ones that are very aware that they are supposed to do awesome and epic things that will be kind of written about in songs, by future generations.
So not at all cocky.
Not at all. They're the
Not
most
at all.
humble of paladins. It's what fascinates me about it in D&D terms, because if this was just a story, this is clearly, your protagonist, your main character, but I love the idea that in D&D, they're part of a party. And so you have this person who knows that they are destined for great things, and yet they're surrounded by these other, people in their group. And I just love how they're gonna have to navigate this. And yeah, it might be a humbling experience. And I think it's gonna be so much fun to play.
Yeah, there has to be like a certain inherent arrogance that has to like grind against the rest of the party if like you're all you're all doing your best and you're stuck with Hercules. Um,
I mean, so that is like straight down the fairway, kind of oath of glory paladin. But you could also go at somebody who is embracing a path that they know they are bound for something great and they are destined to do amazing things, but they might do something. They might try to do something different than what they are quote unquote supposed to do. So you could have this kind of not necessarily reluctant, but you could have more of a kind of recalcitrant oath of glory paladin that is more just like I'm going to do the thing that I'm supposed to do, even though like maybe I've been gifted with this greatness. I'm going to do it for what I think is the right my path, and nobody's going to tell me what to do, god or mortal or whatever. And you could play with that as well. I think there's a lot of space to play, and it is very Greek.
and like mechanically, did anything significant change? I mean, obviously, I don't want you to tell me everything that got changed in the redesign, but if you can give me kind of like a loose idea.
Both subclasses got a bit of an overhaul just to make sure we're delivering on the story. The one that makes me laugh the most is the one I will share. This is my favorite story. Is that on the paladin spell list, subclass spell list, there was the expeditious retreat, and I remember a lot of people kind of chuckling about this, like, oh, oath of heroism, paladin, expeditious retreat. When the mechanics of the spell are so flavorful for this Achilles type hero of being able to get to, you could, yeah, you could escape danger, but the idea of the way this paladin would use it would be to quickly get to whatever they need to deal with. But it was such a flavor kind of. There was so much cognitive dissonance. This is like this shows you the power of words and how much they could pull you out of a story, even though mechanically it does exactly what you want it to do, the spell. But it is so at odds with what you want to say at the table when you are this paladin. I'm going to cast expeditious retreat and then fly, and then charge into combat. It's just so bizarre. So we removed that and we built the idea of speed into the mechanics of the paladin itself. So you're going to see aspects of that, and it still delivers on the idea of being very inspiring. So their feats in combat make people around them better, or makes their enemies kind of think twice and things like that. So it's pretty good. Yeah, I'm digging it.
It is funny how that works because I did work on a video game where we I brought this up before where we had someone thought a gun was too weak. That was the playtest feedback in this particular video game, and all we changed was the base, and then the test feedback was fantastic.
Yep,
We didn't
it's just
change anything
little things.
mechanically.
Yeah, it's such a reminder that the story matters so much and how you sell that story. And it was a lesson for me just in even in game design about mechanics go so far and the story has to basically get you there. And if you're not buying those things, yeah.
Right, yeah, I agree. What about the Oath of Eloquence? What is the story there? What story are you telling?
So this is it was inspired by the Greek orator, the amazing the oral tradition in kind of ancient Greece, the best speaker who can debate circles around anyone and who just knows how to wield words. And oftentimes we see bards, are associated with musical instruments. And so we wanted this one to really be about speech and just being able to empower their words with literal magic to shake the confidence of enemies, to basically or to inspire their heroic allies in by using these words, by giving the heroic speech. So if you are the player who wants to give that rousing speech, this is tailor made for you, that you get to be that that perfect speaker.
It's interesting because, because bards I always think of being a very Welsh tradition, a very an Irish tradition of the wizards once spoke words and that's how they controlled the universe. But with this particular bard, like your magic is just you're really good at talking, which is fantastic, especially if you like A Knight's Tale. And you
That's
like
actually
Jeffrey Chaucer.
that's kind of was one of the things that if you were to take this very Greek concept of the orator, and so this book really kind of shows that Greek flavor of this College of Eloquence bard. But the idea of these subclasses is they're not supposed to be restricted by that flavor. So if you're taking, the Oath of Glory, or you're taking the College of Eloquence, they shouldn't just be relegated to a Greek style or Greek inspired setting, or Theros specifically. There is some universal application of these subclasses. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth doing. And so, what I love about this is you could take that, Knight's Tale, that Geoffrey Chaucer character, and you can make this character, but it has nothing to do with the ancient Greek mythology, which I think it works really well.
So yeah, these subclasses are based in Greek cultural ideals of what a heroic paladin looks like, because often the paladin is so steeped in medieval notions of chivalry that it can be hard to translate to a different setting. I think the Oath of Glory does a really good job of putting that drive for glory at the forefront of what the paladin is doing. The College of Eloquence derives from the Athenian philosophical ideal, right? Both of them, it turns out, are really fun to play. I ran an encounter for a group of high-level characters fighting one of the monsters in this book recently, and it was a ton of fun. The fun or wacky thing about the Oath of Glory for the Paladin is that it is not explicitly connected with the gods. So it's quite possible to be a paladin with the Oath of Glory. It was really all about your glory and not a god's glory. So even in a world that is so steeped with the gods, there's plenty of room for characters who are doing their own thing.
Purchase your copy of Mythic Odysseys of Theros today on D&D Beyond. Link in the description.